Welcome to Burr Cashflow Live. And today is Monday. So tomorrow is when we have um, the real estate networking and wholesaling event, and that is at D'Agostino's on 1351 West Addison in Chicago. Again, that's at D'Agostino's, 1351 West Addison Street in Chicago. So this should be a lot of fun. If you have not attended, make sure you go. It's going to be hosted with us by Blake and his wife, and a bunch of people from Mastery will be there. A bunch of, hopefully, you guys will show up and be a part of the event. The great part about this event is that not only you can get a pizza, get a little bit of beer, sit down, chat, network, and then there is a bunch of information. So great place to hang out and basically share kind of what you're doing, what other people are doing, learn, and let's grow together. So this is tomorrow, and the time is 6:30. So having said that, so today it's Ask Andrew Anything, and today we have a whole bunch of wholesale questions. So first one is from Geeta Mueller, and that one is, where can I find a contract used for wholesale deals? So there's lots of contracts, right, that are on there. You can actually find some online. And you just put it on Google. I would not do that. I would not do that at all whatsoever, period. So what I would suggest you do is, and I'll explain the reason why, I would suggest you reach out to Diaz Case Law, and that's where you get the contract. So this is something I would highly suggest and recommend to you. Just reach out to Diaz Case Law and say, hey, I heard Andrew talking about it, and I would like to get a contract from you guys for wholesale. And obviously, they would love to win your business. So when you're doing wholesales, there are a couple different kind of contracts, right? One is going to be an assignment contract, and one is going to be a double close. And when you reach out to Ms. Gina's office at Diaz Case Law, you can basically ask them, hey, this is kind of what I want to do. What do you think makes sense? Have them help you. Right? You don't have to figure this out all your own. The great part about listening to these, listening to our podcast, being a part of Mastery, or if you would just come to a lot of the RIA events. The great thing is a lot of the resources we're willing to share with you. And the best part is you don't get billed. Right? So pick up the phone, call Ms. Gina's office, and they will be happy to help you. I will have Ms. Jennifer put that information in the link below so that you'll have Gina's office information, and just reach out and they'll be happy to give you the contracts. If you use their contracts, please show some love and then give your business. They would love to earn your business, and they'll be happy to help you with the contract. So two types of contract, remember. One is an assignment contract. Second is a double close contract. And Miss Jennifer will put Gina's information in the chat box, and you can basically get that information. Second question was, is there a minimum that you shoot for in a wholesale deal? Who pays the closing costs? And do you personally ever do a double close? So let's take, there are three parts to the question. We'll take it one thing at a time. Number one is there a minimum you shoot for on a wholesale deal? Now, obviously, as we grow in our real estate journey, as our real estate investors, right, you're able to charge more, right? And a lot of times when you're new, you're just desperate. So I'll give you an example of that, a perfect example of this. So recently, we had Miss Mona Linda from Mastery come for the gold meeting to the office. So when people come at the gold meeting to the office, we want to talk about, okay, where are you coming from? What is your background? Have you ever done a deal before? That sort of thing. And then, okay, where are you going to go from where you are to where you want to go? And she was having a hard time finding properties. So I said, okay, what is the area? And I did a search for her. I'm like, here's a property, get this under contract, right? So basically, I kind of laid it out for her. It's her first time. She's scared, right? She went out, met the agent. We finally helped her get the property under contract. And boom, she did a wholesale of a MLS property. Now, I believe she got it under contract for don't quote me on this, 185, 190, something like that, right? So now, if I had done the wholesale on that property, I could have easily gotten 10, 12, 15,000 bucks on it. Of course, because I mean, she's new at it, right? She's scared. She doesn't know what to do yet, right? And so the buyer that ended up buying the property is somebody from Mastery, and from Platinum Mastery, they bought the property. And so they said, well, they're like, well, Andrew would be interested in the property. I'm like, you should be asking, Ms. Mona Linda should have asked, according to me, about $10,000 for that property, and maybe settled on $8,000 on a wholesale deal, right? She ended up getting $5,000 on that deal. So what I'm trying to say is this is her first time. It's okay. She has never done this before. She had a lot of help and hand-holding this time because of being in Gold Mastery. And so that is okay for her, right? Now, if I'm doing that, I'd say for 5,000 bucks, it's just not worth my time, right? That I say that today, right? Now, does that mean I'm going to walk away from it? Let's say I have something good under contract and somebody from Mastery wants it. Even if I just give it to them, it's okay because somebody from Mastery is winning, so I'm okay with that. But generally, if I look at my wholesales, right, it's going to be anywhere from 15 to 30,000, about 20, 22 being the average. But just understand it's going to be kind of seasoned. So if I ask this question, say somebody like Dan, or if I ask from Mastery who does a ton of wholesales, Dan and Joe, or if I ask this question, if tomorrow you ask this question to Blake and his wife, hey, how much minimum I should be making? The answer they're going to give you is as much as humanly possible, right? Of course, that's the reason why you're doing that, right? But again, at the end of the day, when you're brand new, you may be okay with $1,000, $2,000, $4,000, right? It's just not worth it, obviously, for seasoned investors. But have I gotten that? 100%, right? I've gotten $800 on a wholesale property early on, and I had no idea what I was doing, right? And I felt guilty even charging that. Today, hey, listen, I have the property under contract. If you don't want it, there's 10 other people in line. I just closed on a property which I was buying from a wholesaler. I paid $52,000 on a wholesale fee. There's another person I'm buying a property from. It's supposed to close, I don't know, in the next probably 2-3 weeks sometime. It's a property that is occupied property, and I'm buying it, and this person is going to make about $59,000, almost $60,000 on a wholesale, right? So, and I'm telling you this because I know the number, but I'm not resentful of the guy. I think I'm getting a phenomenal deal. So your goal should be to try to make as much as possible. When you're learning, sometimes you're going to have to eat humble pie and accept very little, but that's okay. You're on track towards a winning proposition. Number 2 is, who pays for the closing costs? Well, this is negotiable, right? So you have a seller, then you have a wholesaler, and you have an end buyer, right? The person who's going to buy your deal. So the seller may be paying their end of the closing costs. You may have agreed with the seller that, no, I'm going to pay both ends of closing costs. You may have agreed with the seller, hey, not only that I'm going to pay both ends of it, and then you may take that cost and pass it to the end buyer. That would be the right thing to do. So in this particular property, which was Ms. Mona Linda's property that I was just talking about, in that case, the end buyer, the doctor and his wife, they ended up paying the whole costs because this was just basically a assignment. So she got $5,000 in the deal. That's all she made in that particular deal. And she basically passed on the deal. She had put up $1,000 earnest money, and this was kind of funny that Ms. Rose was talking. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to ask or not. I had put up $1,000 earnest money, and I still haven't got it back." We're like, "Okay, don't worry about it. It's somebody from Mastery. We'll make sure you get your earnest money, right?" Because obviously she had put it up. So who pays the closing costs is going to be based on what you negotiate. A lot of wholesalers, most of the times, they're going to try to put the entire closing costs on the end buyer. That's how they do it. A lot of wholesalers try to do that. Not always, but a lot of the times. So hopefully that answers the question. And do you personally ever do double closes? Most of the deals that I'm going to do nowadays, I do them all as double closes. I do not generally just do assignments because the numbers on them, meaning the fees, are going to be rather large. And I basically am buying it. I decide at that point, do I want to keep it? Do I want to just basically remarket it and resell it? At that point, I decide if I can get an obscenely high number, then I'm going to move it out. If not, if it's a great property, then I'm keeping it. I'm not selling it. So a lot of the deals that I do end up being double closes. So the rule of thumb that we use generally is this: 7,000 to 9,000 in profit, like 7,000 to 9,000 on a wholesale fee. You do an assignment, right? And you decide if it's 7 or 9. If it's anything more than 9,000, you're making 15,000, 18,000, 20,000 on the deal. Then you don't want the seller to find out how much you're making. Now, if you're advanced level wholesaler, so I'll give you an example. I bought a property from the MLS, and I wholesaled that property to Miss Christine and to Miss Nancy. Right? They bought the property. They happened to be from Mastery, and they knew I was buying it in the MLS. So I bought the property for $130. I wholesaled the property to them for $160 or $162. And so that was $32,000. Now, at the time of the closing, do I want that $32,000 reflected on the HUD statement? Absolutely not. So what I did was, at the time of closing, I just basically took possession. I paid for the property, and the money came from them. And then they wrote me another $30,000 check for the closing. Now, this could happen because they knew, oh my God, Andrew's not going to run away with the property, right? Because the property was first transferred to me, and then Pinnacle, my company, transferred it to them. So there was a two-step, one step from the seller to me, and then a second step, but I got paid outside the closing, and then nobody had to worry about. The agent is happy because, in fact, the agent on that particular property was somebody from Mastery, right? It was Giancarlo's listing that we did this on. So you can definitely do a double close in that way, and then basically get paid out of closing. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Is I would go look up Miss Gina's office, have them assist you with this. You don't have to figure this out. Have them say, hey, this is what I want to do. Now you tell me, you're the attorney, how should I go about doing this? So that's their job. Your job is to simply get the property under contract, find a good deal, get it under contract, identify your buyer, how to do the transaction, let the attorney help you with that. That's what they're getting paid for. Next question was, how do I access the online probate list in Illinois? So there's a couple of different services that sell the online probate list. One of the services is called ILFLS. That's called IL, Illinois Foreclosure Service is what it is. It's IL, Illinois, FLS, right? ILFLS. That's one of them. And the subscription is pretty cheap, $69, $70, something like that. If you want something much more massive, meaning you want to go national, then you can go to a company called PropStream, PROPSTREAM. That's another service that you can use to get the probate list in Illinois, or in fact, in a lot of places. The next question was Oscar. It's a two-part question. So I am 49 years old, working professional, Dallas, Texas, with ambition for financial freedom. I've managed to save $25,000, raised my credit score to 740. I'm currently renting, but I feel it's time to take the next step to either purchase a home or a multifamily. What would you suggest? So number one, congratulations, Oscar. My suggestion to you would be that if you can purchase a home for yourself as a house hack, right? If there are any 2 units, 3 unit type of properties, and they may be in Texas, they may be duplexes right next to each other. You're buying both of them. You live in one of them, rent out the other. That would be an excellent, excellent program. Or you may be wanting to do something where you can fix the property and really create a lot of equity in it, right? Which would be basically purchase. So you're doing the BRRRR strategy, which is buying it, rehabbing it, renting it, refinancing it, and repeating it. And if you do that with a 2 or 3K loan, then that's a phenomenal way also with the 203K loan, because they'll let you buy a property that needs 50, 60 in rehab, 3.5% down, and then they'll give you the entire amount for the rehab, and you can, at that point, raise the value and refinance it. That would be one of the best ways to try to do a house hack. You can also, depending on what area you're going to do that in, even in Texas, you can basically check which areas will allow an Airbnb. You can live in one unit, rent out the other 2 units or other 1 unit, and you can do this up to a 4-unit building. So you can actually buy a property that may be a more expensive property. And even in areas, and this is really important to pay attention to, even in areas where they do not allow an Airbnb, but if you live in the property, meaning you live in one of the units, there are a lot of exceptions. Like Chicago has a lot of exceptions like that. There's a lot of places that have exceptions, or you could also do a midterm rental. So you have lots of options. So congratulations that you have put some money aside. And I would seriously look into a 203K loan. I would not worry if you have to pay PMI right now. I would buy a deal, do a 203K type of loan if it needs work. If it doesn't, then I'd buy it with 3.5% down. And then you can get rid of the PMI at a little bit later point. And then hopefully if you're doing work to it, hopefully there's equity. That's the key thing I would look for, that after rehab. So hypothetically, let's say you bought a property for $300,000, you did about $100,000 in work that came from on a 3.5% down. Then you can go out, and if you're doing that with the 3.5% down, I would get the seller to give you 5%, up to 6% money back at the time of closing, towards closing costs, towards other stuff. So virtually the amount of money you need out of your pocket, if you structure this right, then you really virtually need zero. You need to come up with 3.5%, but at the closing, you're going to literally be zero out if you do this structure correctly. And that can be done all day long. And they want homeowners like yourself that do a house hack to buy properties. So phenomenal way to buy a property. How does one overcome fear of taking the next step? The best way of overcoming fear is basically take the step, right? And what I mean by that is this, that I'm not saying that go do something blindly and it's okay if you lose money. It's not okay, right? Especially when you're new, it is not okay to lose money because you don't have much to lose. So, of course, you want to being afraid is not a bad thing, right? But if you are in Dallas, reach out to Matthew Givergis, look him up on on Facebook, reach out to him, say, hey, I was listening to Andrew, just wanted to take 5 minutes of your time and chat with him. Guys, the best way of getting over fear is to talk to the right people who have gone ahead of you and ask for help. You ask for help not because you're weak, you ask for help because you want to stay strong. So that's what I would suggest. And we're all afraid every time. It doesn't matter when I started doing flips, I was afraid. It didn't matter when I started doing rentals, I was afraid. It didn't matter today when we try to grow. Every time we do a 3-day, right? Literally 10 days before 3-day, I'll at least have a nightmare or two. Oh my God, nobody showed up. Right? We put all this effort, time, and money into it, and nobody showed up, right? It's called growth, right? It's on your mind, you're conscious about it, and you're like, I don't want to, even though financially, will it ruin me? No, if nobody showed up. But will it hurt my ego? Will I feel that, oh my God, we failed at something? So many people from Mastery come and help today. Right? I would be letting them down if we failed at something. So I feel that pressure, and it is stressful, right? Anytime you do something beyond what you do every day, right? It is stressful. First time I learned to fly, right? It was stressful, right? Every time I go take an exam, I failed one of my pilot's exams because I did the easiest thing, I messed up, right? It was stressful. And it's called, fear is basically false evidence appearing real, is what the definition of fear is. Yet, when you're doing that, right, it feels scary, right? That's just how it is. And there's nothing wrong with fear. You just have to do it. I mean, if I could really tell you guys how afraid I used to be to do a 3-day or to stand up in front of people, I was like, well, why would anybody show up? Why would they listen to me? What do I have to say that is of any importance, or have I not said this before? Yet I'm very fortunate so many people show up. We're blessed, and in some way we're able to help them grow from where they are to where they want to go. And without fear, there is nothing that you're going to accomplish. So welcome, my friend, to this thing that if you want to keep growing, you have to be facing the fear. We all have to do it all the time. So just because I seem confident sometimes, that does not mean that there's no fear. It's just that we're going about doing this despite the fear that's there, because what else is the choice, right? Sometimes, I look at life in a simple way, that there are two options, like losing or winning. Losing is just not an option for me, right? I'm not built to lose. I'm not meant to lose. That's not how it is. I may lose from time to time, but that does not mean I'm a loser. The only way I become a loser is if I give up trying. So my job always is to keep trying the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And it's a numbers game at the end of the day, right? It's going to work. I just don't want to lose money as we go along the process. Hopefully that makes some sense. The next one was assignment, double close versus wholesaling. What does that mean? I think it's fairly simple, right? Assignment simply means that, hey, I have something under contract, right? Let's say you have a property under contract, $120,000, right? And you are talking to your friend, hey man, I'm buying a property in Punta Gorda, Florida, and I'm going to pay X amount of dollars. It's a piece of land I'm buying for $120,000. It's right on the water, right? He goes, oh my God, I've been looking for a piece of property, blah, blah, and he's like, dude, I would have paid 140. You look at him, you're like, hey, listen, if you want to pay 140, I can sell it to you. He says, okay, no problem, done deal. Now he's your friend, or he's somebody you know, and you can assign the contract to them, get paid two ways. Either you can get paid on the HUD statement. If you don't know them, like if you're in Florida, this is normal. In Florida, all the time, if you're in Texas, if you're in Florida, if you're in New York, right, you get paid an assignment fee right on the HUD. Whether it's 20, 30, 40, 50, it doesn't matter, right? That's just how it is. They put it right on the HUD, and it's perfectly fine. In Illinois, we don't do that. In Illinois, what we do is around Chicagoland area, we basically, so if I was closing a property in Florida, so all the new construction we're doing, all the properties we buy in Florida, no problem. That's just how it's done. That's normal. In Chicagoland area, that is not normal. So here, what happens is generally we say if it's $7,000 to $9,000 in wholesale fee, and you're going to put it on the HUD, then that's an assignment, right? Because the seller will see, well, I thought Andrew was buying my property. Now Andrew's getting $7,000 or $8,000, and then somebody else is buying the property, right? Now I might be able to say, hey, listen, yeah, I decided not to buy it. I work with a partner. He's buying the property, and we work together. Sometimes I buy it, sometimes they buy it, and we have a business deal where he's paying me my part of it. So I made $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. Now, on the other hand, let's say I'm basically walking away a check for 30. So I bought it from him for 120. I'm moving it to somebody else for 150, and it's on the HUD. The seller might go, oh my God, I think I undersold the property, and they may get pissed. And in the Chicago market, to avoid that, then we would do what is called a double close, meaning I would do a closing with the seller. In the next second, I would do a closing with the next buyer. And as long as it's disclosed to the next buyer, I can use their money to do the first closing. That's what Gina's office can help you with, so you don't have to figure that out. They'll help you figure it out. The last one is, well, what is wholesaling? Well, wholesaling is simply a hybrid, right? Which is wholesale, basically is called wholesaling. So what you're doing is you're closing on the property, you're cleaning the property out generally, and then you're either putting it back on the market or you're putting it back to other investors, right, as a wholesale deal. So that's basically what that is, that you're kind of closing on it, increasing value by cleaning it up, and then putting it right back on the market, and you're doing a wholesale deal. So it's not wholesale. Wholesale is instantaneous, and this is just another hybrid term where people generally will do a very light cleanup on the property. Sometimes not even that. Sometimes they'll just close on it, put it right back on the MLS, and sell it that way. Most of the times they'll clean out the property and then sell the property in that condition. So that is called wholesaling. The next person was asking question that was Ariel, and that is, how do I get proof of funds letter? So proof of funds letter, you can get it two different ways. Obviously, one is you have money, right? Or you have money in your 401k. That's okay. You can show that. That's okay also. If you have cash, obviously, in the bank, you can show that. You can show your 401k that, hey, I have this much at Charles Schwab's, whatever. That's one thing. Second way of doing it, which is most 95% of people do it this way, which is you go to a lender and the lender issues you a letter, which is proof of funds. So easiest way for you, anybody that's listening to this, get a proof of funds is go to National RE funding.com. There's a small little app, doesn't ask you for your credit, we don't pull the credit on that, but we can provide you, based on the information that you've given, a pre-approval letter. And that's something, so if somebody calls Harry and asks, hey, Harry, I got a pre-approval letter from you. Yes, we have looked at their situation. This is approximately how much they can get in terms of funding. So it's a legit proof of funds. It's not something that is just made up. It is something legit, assuming you have put in the correct information, right? That's the one assumption, is that you've done your part of it. The last but not least is, if I find a property, does someone have to come with full cash to JV with me? No, absolutely not. So the question is, if I find a property and I want to do a JV with somebody, right? Do they have to have all the cash? Absolutely not. I'll give you guys a perfect example. So let's say I find a property and let's hypothetically say I don't have the cash, right? At one time, if I go back a few years back, I didn't have the cash to be able to close on it. How did I close on these properties? I basically would go to a bunch of people I was kind of JVing with, doing a joint venture. They come up with the down payment. They come up with the money that is needed to do the deal. I did hundreds of deals like that, where I would basically have them put up the money, and then I'm going to do the work, or I'm going to have the work done. And then we are doing 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, whatever the deal is, right? For the longest time, I was doing 50-50s. They would get their money back. They would get half the profits, right? After a while, right? After a long while, I should have done it a long time ago, right? It went down to 70-30. Then after that, it was less, until I don't necessarily need, most of the times, a lot of people to do a JV deal, but they don't have to come up with all the money. They can come up with part of the money. They can come up with all the money that's needed for the down payment. And then you can go to National RE Funding and get the rest of the funding. Or let's say you're going to somebody, a private lender. Private lender says, hey, I can give you 150, but you need, say, 180 for the deal, right? For the whole deal, you need 180. Well, you can partner with somebody and borrow the 30,000 from them. So they come in as a JV partner with 30,000. You borrow the rest from the private money and do it that way. So absolutely, you don't have to worry about that. You have to have all the money. So you can always partner for part of it. And that's how that's how I built the business, literally was with JV partners and with private money. So having said that, for everybody that joined us, thank you very much. Please invite your friends, invite your family. The list is growing of people that are part of the Burr Cashflow Investors. And the whole idea of this is that we want to give you as much value as possible and ask questions, right? If you're stuck in a deal, you can always ask within the community. And there's a bunch of people that will volunteer the answers. We will give you answers. We will talk about it on the lives so that you have a answer as to what to do. So again, remember, that when you invite people, when you invite friends, when you invite family, every single time you are put into a drawing where you have better odds of winning. So if you invited 20 people, 30 people, right, you may have a much better odd of winning. First winner was Trinidad. Second winner was Miss Amal. For the giveaways, this time the giveaway is tickets for two on up to $1,000 each in value. So $2,000. So hopefully you will be our next winner. And remember, tomorrow at D'Agostino's, it's 1351 West Addison Street. And the topic tomorrow specifically is wholesales. So we're going to have the wholesaling expert, and that happens to be, now I'm having a complete breakdown. Blake, excuse me, from Mastery Express Home Solutions, and his wife will be there, and they do a ton of wholesales in the Chicagoland area. You've probably, if you turn on the TV, you've probably seen one of their ads pop up that if you want to sell a house, call Express Home Solutions. So they'll be there. They lead that particular meeting. Great times, get some food, get a beer, and you get to network and you get to learn from the best. Having said that, thanks a bunch, guys. Keep the questions coming in. We love everybody participating. Thanks, and have a great day.